what do you see happening in the National Assembly? Because already, look at that headline, opposition lawmakers plan showdown with Jonathan. We know that that's about budget 2014, by the way. We know that every budget year, there's always this controversy, bickering amongst them. But this one will be a unique one because the members of PDP, some of them have moved to the APC, and now they're talking about who is the majority party, who takes over. So how do you see all of those playing out with this budget matter?
You see, I am so sorry that the presidency, with due respect to those who are advising, are not truly allowing the young man to have a broader view of what Nigeria is, rather than the myopic view. For instance, when he refused to go to the National Assembly, many of my legal friends told me, oh, it's unconstitutional for the Minister of Finance to present the budget because the Constitution says shall. And I told them, I said, look, go and read the Constitution. What the Constitution says is that the president shall cause to be presented.
So not necessarily
it's not the shall there. Shall cause.
So we should look at the cause.
Is the cause. You see, many lawyers don't, with due respect to them, when they were arguing with me that, oh no, the Constitution used the word shall. Well, I even read an article when a lawyer said when the word shall is used in so-so-so Agbaje versus so-so-so and so. Then I said, no, the English language is so simple. The word says, Mr. President shall cause to be presented. Now, the determining word there is cause. If he initiates a process and asks somebody to go to do it, he has caused a process to be done. So it is not mandatory for him to present a budget, but it sends a wrong signal. Whether it is mandatory or not, for him not to go sends a wrong signal. And what is the wrong signal? People say he's afraid he was going to be heckled. People say he's afraid of this. And that is the wrong signals that are. And that's why I said he needs more people around him who can really see things eyeball to eyeball and talk to him, rather than people who want to derive benefits from their nearness to him. Now, you have asked me the question, why am I pessimistic? Is that not the question you asked?
So what do you see happening with this budget now that the APC has more members than they had initially?
The budget will be passed. Whether there is Shikism, whether there is cross-carpeting, whether there is a new loyalty, the budget will still be passed because they, the politicians, need the passage of the budget more than you and I.
But they need to agree on the formulas.
Well, what is the formula? The benchmark is the problem. I think I was on this program last year when I was talking about the benchmark. If you look at the headlines on your television this morning, Brent oil sells for $110 per barrel. Why are we putting the benchmark in Nigeria to $79? Where do we want to keep the difference between $79 and 116?
They say excess crude account.
That's so that tomorrow we can go there and be taken from it. Why not budget now on even $100
and spend it all?
And spend it on developments. You can see the trend in Nigeria now. Virtually every governor of a state is going to the bond market to take bonds now. This is stupid. This is daylight robbery on Nigerians. Why should a state government go to a commercial bank and go and get a 5 billion bond? To do what? When that same money is still available within the system by increasing your budgetary benchmark so that states will have more money and they will spend on development. But Nigeria, we have never seen our money being spent in the correct way.
I'm thinking about the aid you talked about. perhaps now that we in a fresh year, let's look more into all of the activities, how they work, and you also have an insight into how some of those things are. Is it difficult for, when you talked about eyeball to eyeball, for an aide to engage the president or governor in an argument that is for the betterment of the country? Or is it sheer hypocrisy that anything he says or she said, in as much as you know it is wrong, you just go, Your Excellency, you're correct?
You see, the problem delves down again. There are no institutions of governance available. For instance, a governor who knows that he has his assembly members in his pocket, because the assembly, if it's an institution, if allowed under the constitution to perform his duties, a governor will think twice before doing anything that may not be approved by the House. But because the system in Nigeria is that every governor has the speaker or majority under his pocket, there is no democracy. So eyeball to eyeball will not be able to, because of the enormous powers the governors and Mr. President has under the Constitution. I have mentioned it here before. Under Section 5 of the Constitution of Nigeria, all executive powers are vested in Mr. President. All. It is only those powers that he does not want to exercise himself, or by virtue of the Constitution, like the Attorney General that is established by the Constitution, or maybe the Minister for Petroleum, because under the Petroleum Act, there are certain functions that can only be exercised by the minister. Mr. President may decide not to appoint ministers under the Constitution, and nobody can query him, except those two portfolios I told you. He can decide that, look, I will manage my executive.
But former President Obasanjo was petroleum minister at the point in time.
Yeah, you see, give it to Obasanjo. He has what we call the native intelligence. I am doing a case for the federal government of Nigeria on an oil block, which he, decided not to allot to somebody. When he was sued as Mr. President, I defended, and I'm still defending that case. And I said, look, Obasanjo, in withdrawing a license, was not acting as Mr. President. He was acting as Minister for Petroleum. And once he's acting as a Minister for Petroleum, the powers he's exercising is as a Minister for Petroleum. I am also involved during Yar'Adua's case, where Yar'Adua withdrew the license of a foreign company here. And I now have to defend that foreign company against the government. And I was telling the court that Yar'Adua has already appointed a Minister for Petroleum. Therefore, the powers he's now exercising can only be exercised by the Minister for Petroleum. The difference between him and Obasanjo is that Obasanjo never appointed a Minister for Petroleum. And it's, according to the Constitution, under Section 5, he has the powers.
Yeah, but the point is, you just said that, the president has to appoint a Minister for Petroleum because there's certain things that the Minister for Petroleum...
Under the Petroleum Act.
Yes, under
certain
the Petroleum
duties
Act. There are certain duties that the minister must perform.
Yeah.
So he was just pointing out that, but the 8 years of Obasanjo's administration, he was both Minister for Petroleum and President of the Federal Republic.
And, formally I challenged him. I wanted to take him to court. And he sat me down and I said, look, Robert, if you had taken me to court, you will have lost. To use his word, he said, I have not only read the Constitution, I have studied it.